What's going on YouTube? This month at my company, we are focusing on making sure we know our product, which means we're looking for some potential red flags that you should look for when you're buying a home. If you're looking through a house and you see lots of areas that have cracked drywall, uneven flooring, or other potential issues where there aren't level surfaces, these could be an indication that there's some kind of structural or foundation problem with the property. Also, if you go into a basement and see any block walls that have any bowing or cracks, that could also be an indicator that there's some sort of problem. Doesn't necessarily mean there's something that needs to be addressed immediately, but keep your eye out for these things because it could be things that you can use to negotiate. Alright, let's face it, it doesn't matter where you live, you're probably going to get bugs in your home at some point in time, right? Absolutely. But you need to keep an eye out for some potential indicators that there are additional pest problems that you may not want to deal with. Specifically, wood-destroying insects. Now, most of that stuff's going to be visible in crawl spaces or in attics, but if you find any indicators like mud tubes on the foundation of the property, it could be an indication that there's a termite problem or another pest infestation that you don't want to deal with. Fresh paint in a house is typically a good indicator, right? Not necessarily. If you're looking through a house and you find small areas that have been freshly painted, maybe small spots on the ceiling or different areas on the wall, you might want to have a couple questions running through your mind like, hey, what's the seller trying to hide? It's not always necessarily a problem that has been covered up, but you definitely want to have that question going through your thoughts because you want to know what you're looking for before you get too deep into the transaction. I know what you're thinking. Obviously, a stinky, smelly house is going to be a big indicator that there's something that's potentially wrong in the home. But I'm also talking about pleasant odors or aromas that you might smell. If you go into a house that has an overwhelming good smell, sometimes that's an indication that the seller's trying to hide something. You might want to see if there's a way that you can go back without all the plugins or Scentsy candles or anything else running in that house. Let's face it, when you buy a house, you're also buying the location. If you're going to a home that has been wonderfully maintained and everything looks nice, but the rest of the neighborhood is run down or not taken care of, could be an indication that the property value is not going to appreciate like it could in another area. Make sure you're paying attention to that factor as well, not just the house you buy. If you're noticing areas that have a lot of staining on the walls or the ceilings, and especially the walls near the ceiling, that could be an indicator that there's been a roof leak or other water penetration issue that needs to be addressed. That doesn't always mean that there is still a problem. It could be something that's old that hasn't been repaired or covered up with paint, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on and ask about before you start negotiating. I live in an area where there's a lot of rain throughout the year, so you definitely want to pay attention to the grading around the house. Typically, you want to make sure that the dirt falls away from the foundation of the home because it's going to help diffuse water away from the foundation. If you've got areas where the dirt is sunken in towards the foundation, there's a good potential that that crawl space or basement, if they have one, are going to get water in there that could lead to potential horrendous problems. Hey, thanks for checking out the Aaron Advantage. This is just a small list of things that you should keep an eye on when you're looking for a home. As always, there's a link in the description box below where you can find the article where I found this information. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with everything I post.